Welcome, one and all, to episode 58 of the Megavision Show, the companion podcast to Megavision's magazine. Today is November the 1st. Oh my god, what a twist. I didn't realize how late we were in the year.
What happened?
So we're coming down off Halloweeny period. I am Graham Kruger Cookson, the production editor of Megavision's magazine. Joining him this week, we have, I'm going to get my pointing correct hopefully this time, we have Scott Zombie, the managing editor of Megavision's. And which way is it going? It's that way, damn it. And rising from his grave, wearing nothing but a pair of furry underpants in true Altered Beast style, we have Chris von Frankenstein. As usual, we'll be answering some of your burning questions. We'll have our picks of the week, where Chris gets spooky with Night of the Demons. Scotty makes us watch a YouTube video, and I'll try to get you reading a book with The Final Empire. Plus, for our feature discussion this week, we'll be reminiscing about some of the scariest moments we faced in totally non-scary games. So join us as we grab a power-up and then turn into our beast forms with this week's Megavision Show. But before we get to the good stuff, let's stomp on the melting jack-o'-lanterns of yesterday and discuss our week. So Chris, let's start with you and find out what you've been doing and where the heck you've been for the last month or so.
Oh, how's it going, guys? Good to be back on the show. It's been a while, but
it has.
No, it's mainly just been due to time, and my lack of time. Really, the weekends are have been insane for me with kids' sports. The twins and Odin are all in sports, so it's like Saturday and Sundays have been insane. And then also with the kids' school, I've told you guys, several times. I basically am now a stay-at-home teacher for my kids, and so that's basically been my life, man. I'm just waiting for COVID and everything else to get back to normal. But that's really why I've had to just kind of step away for a little while from the podcast. I just don't physically just have the time of my life anymore. But I was able to, thankfully, a lot of the games were canceled this weekend. So Chris just had a game earlier today, and I was telling you guys it was pouring rain the entire time, so it was pretty wild. But I was able to get out relatively early, so I was able to jump on the show with you guys. Super excited about it. But yeah, we had Halloween yesterday, and man, I was really worried going into this week because I didn't know if they were even going to allow trick or treating. Did you guys did you notice, were the kids trick or treating around your guys' neighborhoods?
Go ahead, Greg.
Scott. Oh, well, I was going to let you answer that first, Scotty, if you want.
I will be more polite than you today.
Okay, fair enough. So around my actual flat, not really, because they don't actually really do much trick-or-treating around this bit because we're in flats, it's a bit awkward. Although our neighbours actually put out some sweets or candy, as you guys say, which was really nice for everyone in our little block. But I happened to drive to my parents' house yesterday, and they live on a more kind of residential street where I grew up and stuff, and kids are around. So they actually had a lot of kids trick-or-treating. I was actually surprised how many there were out. And so yeah, people are doing it.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about you, Scott?
We had 2 years ago, we were out of town for Halloween's, and that was the first Halloween we were at this place that we live in now, so we didn't know how things happen. Last year, we didn't see anyone out and about. This year, we happened to need to run errands yesterday, and we drove past one place. A lot of fire departments were hosting a thing where parents would park their cars and pop open their trunks, and that would be the spot for kids to go to get candy in the parking lots. But when we actually got to our street, I had to turn off of our street because there were so many trick-or-treaters. We were very surprised because I don't know if this was a neighborhood thing or if this was what the community decided to do, but everybody had, so we live in a duplex, but it is on a residential street with a lot of other duplexes and full houses. But almost every house had pretty much a table at the end of their driveway with candy on it, and they were kind of standing back and kids were getting candy and stuff. So it was pretty cool. And we felt, Rachel's like, do we have to go? She's like, do we have to prep candy? I'm like, I don't know. Do you want to? She's like, not really. No. Because it was already, we weren't sure how late it was going on, and it was almost dusk at that point. So we weren't too worried about it. But yeah, it was actually happening on our street. So it was kind of cool that it was still going on.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. So we took the kids to the next kind of neighborhood over that we typically go and trick or treat at. And I was like you, a lot of people had little stands at the end of their driveways and things like that. What I also noticed was a lot of people had they made their little bonfire. They had those little oh god, what are they? The little metal things you put wood in and burn it. What is it called? It's it holds
a little
wood.
kettle looking thing,
like a fire pit is what I'm trying to say.
Fire pit. Okay,
fire pit. So they had fire pits at the end of their driveway, just hanging out and stuff.
Interesting.
I actually found it better than what Halloween typically is like because it felt more personable. Where people were out all in the neighborhood and everyone was just kind of outside. It seemed awesome. In addition, our local our police department was driving around and playing Halloween songs like Ghostbusters and stuff really loud,
That's
just
cool.
making sure everyone's safe and stuff.
Yeah, I like that.
It made it all just a very fun, friendly, safe time. And I gotta say, I didn't have high hopes for Halloween going into 2020 being COVID and everything else.
Yeah.
But I have to say, it was actually a lot of fun. And the boys, they both dressed up as those. It's basically like a full black outfit, and then you have these the string man LEDs tied to you, so you're basically like a little stick man figure running around. It's pretty cute.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah. So yep.
You froze for me entirely when you were going like this. So what were they? They were the enemies from Night Trap, right?
They were stick figures with LEDs on them, and so you basically run around. You look like a stick figure. A lit up stick figure. So.
Also, you might want to keep an eye on, everybody's getting discount candy now. Rachel did let me know that 12-foot tall skeleton that everybody's seen in everybody's front yards, it's marked down from $300 to $75. So if anybody wants to get that, you're insane.
There was a dude on Main Street that just moved in, and he had 3 or 4 of those things. It was awesome. His house looked amazing. He just bought it. He just moved into this house, and they painted it. They fixed it up. It looks really, really good. And then it just looks way nicer than it did before. But now he's pimped it all out for Halloween, and I have to say it was awesome. Really good stuff. But yeah, I saw those giant skeletons, and I was like, "What the heck? Where do you get those?" So apparently, you get them at Home Depot.
It's like Home Depot, or yeah.
And you can get them for $75 now. So wow.
Don't do it.
Outside of that, real quick, I've been, other than being the stay-at-home dad, I've been trying to eat better, take care of myself a little bit better. So, when the last time I was on, I was probably close to my heaviest I've ever been in my life. I was 197, which is heavy for me. And so now, I've just been eating better. I've been almost drinking no alcohol at all, which is also awesome for me, and working out more. And since maybe about a month or so ago, I've already lost about 12 pounds. So
wow, I'm
just going to keep trying to go until I get my goal weight. So
Ring Fit, baby.
I did get the Ring Fit, but I tried it once. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do this.
Oh, what do you mean? It was did you bump it up too high for yourself or what?
It's just not the type of workout that I enjoy.
Oh,
it's yoga and cardio.
Yeah, if I'm gonna be doing cardio, I like the Peloton for cardio. I really enjoy that. And if I'm gonna go for any sort of because I want to start doing more weightlifting, so I'm gonna be getting back into that again this week.
Yeah,
I know. But those are that's the type of working out that for me I want to do. So for me, that's what I want to do. But I've heard really good things about Ring Fit from other people. I think including you guys.
Yeah, indeed.
It's made for. It's no. I need
to get back into it.
It's been, long story short, it was a very stressful start to the month of October, and both Rachel and I fell out of our routines of using that thing just because way more important stuff was happening, and I couldn't push myself to get up an hour earlier than I needed to during the week.
Yeah.
But that thing is. I was just going to say that thing is made with definitely apartments in mind, but we don't have any equipment or anything. So it's good for our stance in terms of we don't have weights. we're not going to get gym memberships. We don't have room for any type of equipment or anything. So it's good in terms of that. But like, I will still go to my mom's and play my drums because that's where my set is because we don't have room here. But like, that's a workout for me, definitely for cardio, but like that's what Ring Fit is for us as well. But it would be nice if we even don't even really have enough room for Ring Fit because we couldn't keep moving our table back and forth. That's not supposed to be moved. We almost broke the thing because we kept trying to move it on our own individually. So long story short, not using Ring Fit as much, but it's made, I think they did a good thing with making it usable in apartments, especially when you're on a second floor, because you can do, instead of running, you can do like squats to not make as much floor noise. I don't remember what the question was initially, but we're not using Ring Fit as much.
That was basically the question: is are you still using Ring Fit?
Not as much. We should. I need to get into that. Nick was on a couple of weeks ago. My buddy, he was saying that mixing it up, and that's also another thing. Is like we would do it every day, so it got old. We need to mix it up and use. There's like a boxing game or something for Switch that he mentioned. Yeah, I mean, I would like to do something with weights, but there's just no, I don't know. We don't have enough floor space to really do exercises here. So I don't know. That's my excuse, I guess. Got to get back into it though.
I hear you. What about you, Graham?
So yeah, I haven't done it for a while, actually, to be fair. I just kind of got out of my routine. I used to get up really early, like when I used to drive into the office, I used to get up at like 5 a.m. and stuff and leave the house before 6. So when lockdown happened, I was still getting up pretty early, like even if it was like 7 o'clock, that's like 2 hours before I'm meant to start work. And then just slowly, I've been going to bed later and later and waking up later and later. And so some days I'm like waking up at like 10 to 9, like, oh, roll out of bed, sort of have a quick clean and then go, yeah, I'm here. Hi guys. So yeah, my routine's out the window. I have also got a folding exercise bike, which I bring out occasionally. So sometimes I will hop on that for like half an hour. But I need to get back into some sort of routine. But Ring Fit's really fun. I was loving it while I was doing it. And then, yeah, it's just, lazy. It's just pure laziness. Like, I think it's great. But, yeah.
I think, and that's what you said, Scotty, for me personally, nailed it on the head. It's just like when your life gets really busy and you get stressed, like for me, and it's not the right decision, but like working out's always the first thing to go because I'm just like, I already kind of don't want to do it anyway, especially if it's cardio. And so part of me, I think the bitch in me is just like, don't do it. You got other stuff to do and you got all this other stuff. So and that's for me personally is like where the challenge happens is like overcoming that inside me where I'm telling like, don't work out, just I'd rather just hang out and just sit down and watch a movie or something like that. So like that internal struggle that I have is something that I like almost daily. I try to and my brother and I signed up for a Planet Fitness membership this past week. So tomorrow is going to be like the first day we actually go back into the gym since all this happened. So my daughter, she goes to the same gym and I've been talking to her about it. It's a Planet Fitness, but she said it's they've been doing like a really good job of keeping it clean, social distancing. You have to wear your mask the entire time you're working out, that sort of thing. So I think it seems like it's safe. I'm just looking forward to getting back to the gym and trying to like get back into shape, in some form of shape that I can be in at this point in my life, at least.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think for myself, the biggest thing, and this might be a pro tip maybe for anyone that's really doesn't understand working out in the morning as opposed to like after work. For myself, it would actually help me, not aside from it being healthy, it would wake me up earlier and get me more prepared for the day than waking up half an hour before I have to clock into work. Like being up way earlier, even though I'm not doing as much of a workout as I should, just mentally being awake earlier than I would be normally for sleeping in and skipping exercising. It kind of helps you and you're in a better mood usually after working out for the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I just got to not be lazy.
Pro tip. Like it.
Pro tip.
Cool. So have you had any pickups this week, Chris?
I did. I had one pickup. It is Night of the Demons on Blu-ray. This is a collector's edition from Scream Factory.
Nice.
And we recently did this on an episode of the Bloodsucking Geeks podcast. But I've never seen this. I had never seen this movie before. I remember seeing the box art at my local VHS rental store growing up, and it's called Night of the Demons, and it had like this isn't the official box art of what it looked like back in the day. This is all redone, but Angela is the kind of the main character.
Do you want, for the audio listeners, do you want to describe what we're looking at? Because
she is this giant, or she's basically a demon, dressed up as she's going to like a prom. She's like in a prom dress and everything. So the gist of the story is, and I'll talk more about it later. It's basically a group of kids go into this old abandoned house that's supposedly haunted, and all this weird stuff happens. They perform a seance, and they actually get a demon to come, and it starts possessing all the other kids, and it turns them into these like monstrous, like ghoulish looking creatures that basically are trying to murder everyone else. And there's lots of hijinks and stuff. I'll go into it more in the show, but that's been my one pickup. I'm really glad to have this in my collection now. I don't have it here in front of me, but I also had this giant Friday the 13th collector's edition that has every single movie in the collection.
Wow.
It was insane. I bought it on a whim just because I'm an idiot. I pre-ordered it like 6 months ago it was like $130 or something insane. It was stupid expensive. And it finally just showed up out of nowhere. It came in this giant box. It was way bigger than it needed to be. It looked like you could almost fit like an 8-foot basketball goal in it or something. It was weird. And you open it up and it's just this. The reason being, I guess they added these like big posters in there, but the box for the Blu-ray is like this big, and you got this like giant box. It's insane. So anyway, that was my pickup, Night of the Demons. And sorry it takes so long, but want to get you guys caught up on what I've been up to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, welcome back.
Thanks,
Two
guys.
comments. One comment. Chris, you need to pick up the documentary The Last Blockbuster because I think you'd enjoy it. I mentioned it last week.
Okay.
Second follow-up with that, I think you might support me in thinking that there's a slim possibility that VHS might come back.
Dude, I think it is, man, because it's weird. A lot of these dead formats are starting to come back, and VHS is... I can see it happening.
We don't need to get in a long discussion, but I just knew if anyone would support me in that slight idea that there's a possibility of BU.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
100%.
Wow. Okay, so Scotty, what's been happening with your week?
Well, as my name states, Scott Zombie, I have been digging through the ditches and burning through the witches as I slam them in the back of my Dracula. But no, I've not.
Brilliant.
You're welcome. You did this. Don't shake your head at me. You gave me the name. No, excuse me. Not really much, honestly. It's been a week of a lot of different bands have been doing online concerts, and since Halloween fell on a Saturday, everyone and their mother had to do a concert. So we honestly watched The Midnight Friday night, and then last night we watched The Main. And now Rachel's actually currently downstairs catching up on Switchfoot's concert that they had earlier in the week. So a bunch of online concerts, which is cool and awkward, but fun. Really, we haven't done much else. Kind of had a busy week full of adult type stuff, but fun, responsible things. And but we bought some pillows. Do you guys want to see pillows?
Oh yeah, I'm always up for a good pillow.
Ooh, look
at
do you want to just clarify?
Really cool.
Yeah, to clarify for the audience, well, you guys have both been to our been to our house. I don't know why I'm short of breath today. We have a bunch of movie posters framed in the living room and different like autographed portraits of people and whatever from conventions. So we got some matching pillows. This one is the Creep Show. Like, looks like one of the issues of the comic. Has all of them on the back there as well.
Nice.
And then the other one here is Tarman from Return of the Living Dead. And we got some, the other one downstairs, I wasn't going to just take away a pillow that Rachel was using, but another one is the Necronomicon.
That's awesome.
And we got some blankets and stuff too.
Where'd you say you got those at?
Well, that's a good question. Maybe one of these have a tag on it, and it doesn't. But I'll lean back and show you guys this blanket. I don't need to show everyone everything we got, but let's see if this works.
Cool. That's what I'm looking. Yes. Oh wow! It's just like an Evil Dead, I guess, DVD box art,
It's like the
folded
VHS
out,
box art.
or the VHS
it's
even.
Yeah, they take the VHS covers. The other one that we have, I won't completely. Well, maybe fuck.
Unfold it. Yeah, do it. Yeah, I want to see more. Ooh,
That's funny, Scotty.
that's like a creep show one. Nice.
Me and my buddy Corey, we just did an episode on Creep Show on the Bloodsucking Geeks podcast.
Nice. Yeah, so it's the blankets,
that.
they're long throw blankets that are shaped like the VHS covers if you were to cut them out and basically unfold them like a book. So we got Evil Dead and Creep Show, the VHSs of them, or the whatever. I said that sort of.
I love the way you say. Sorry, I was going to say I love the way you say unfold it like a book, but you don't really. I guess actually when you're reading, you do unfold a book. Never mind.
I mean, like if you got the VHS box and you took it apart, like you would unpack cardboard or something.
But when you said unfold it like a book, I was like, is that what you do? But yeah, you do actually. Don't worry, I'm just being an idiot. I'm the stupid one.
Sometimes. And well, you thought they were DVD cases, but that's what you do with them now. But yeah, VHS box would just be you just pull the thing out.
Never mind. Don't worry.
Yeah, so she found those online, so it matches the horror and the movie theme of the living room.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Do you feel like those are officially licensed products?
I think they are, because it's let me ask her where she got them from.
Only reason why I'm saying that because I wouldn't be surprised if they're not actually, but the reason being is that if this is just a company like printing using just files that they're picking it up online and just printing throw blankets on it.
They're from creepyco.com. Which is, I shouldn't have opened it up. Now everything's going to slow down and lag for a second. But they do have, so I believe this stuff is not just them slapping it on things, because there are a lot of different, there's some Universal Monster stuff, like tiki cups and things and other crap right now. Yeah,
I was just going to say, my point was, I wonder if this would be a popular thing with like video games, like putting video game box art on a throw blanket. Has that happened yet? Are they doing that now?
I have seen that, but not like by the devs. I've seen it through like Fangamer and stuff like that. But
that's what I'm saying, stuff like that. I haven't noticed it, I don't think, but I would assume like you would see that stuff at conventions and people would probably love that.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it very unofficially at conventions and other places.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Yeah, so I don't know if too many people jump on them. Like, I mean, there's a Sonic thing behind me, but that's not like under everything else. But yeah, I mean, not much has gone on, but we got those for the living room and stuff. So
that's awesome. Cool. So for me, I don't know if you guys heard, you guys have your own situations going on over there, but the UK is now going back into lockdown from this Thursday. Right. So that means basically the only shops that are going to be open are really like supermarkets and essential places. So
I heard that, wasn't it just to like they wanted to have some sort of temporary like curve flattening for some. There was a point for it, and I remember reading it. I can't remember what it is now, but it just seems strange just to try to do it for like a temporary.
So they believe that if we go back into lockdown for at least a month, it should flatten the curve again. Because when we went back into lockdown for like 3 months earlier this year, it kind of really did dip things down a bit because we were getting quite high, and they sort of dipped it down. So we're hoping to sort of either flatten the curve or go down again, reduce our cases, because our cases have been going up again quite high. Our deaths have gone up a bit, and our cases have shot up from like 2,000 a day to like 25,000 a day. So yeah, they're like, if we do this now before Christmas, we'll try and do that and see. So by December the 2nd, they've sort of said that's when we'll lift the lockdown if the curve has flattened. Basically, if it hasn't flattened, we're still going to stay in lockdown. But yeah, so most shops are going to shut again. I guess but they've extended what they call the furlough scheme. So some companies, which basically, rather than making everyone unemployed or redundant, those companies are going to be able to pay people still by using government schemes. So yeah, hopefully that will help some people with their jobs and stuff. My job seems safe at the moment, so I'm thankful for that. So thank God. Even though I was complaining about it last week, I am thankful I've got a job. Despite like it's stressful at the moment, but my God, yeah. So yeah, that's just a thing that came out. So yeah, I'm going to be stuck in my flat even longer now. Brilliant.
I think I have a feeling like the same thing's going to be happening to us though too, Graham. So
well, they've already. I think New York and a couple other states have gone back into lockdown. I think Ohio did. I forget where else exactly.
Yeah, New Jersey hasn't gone into any official quarantine or anything like that. I've just heard some rumblings and stuff around that they may be going, having more sanctions and stuff. I don't know if like we're going to go back how it was before, but I think they'll probably start like maybe closing restaurants and bars and things like that. I could see that happening. I don't know about like a full lockdown though.
Yeah. It's I haven't really been out to see friends and stuff that much, but I went out to see a friend at a bar like a couple of days ago. We just us two, we had a drink and stuff. It was really nice. It's like, this is great because like they do table service now. I'm like, this is really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, and now it's like, oh, I can't go out again now. Brilliant. I should have taken more advantage of it when I could.
I don't want to bring down the mood too much, but it's been starting to get to me how little I've actually been communicating with people. Thank God that Rachel and I have each other during all of this, because I can't imagine being solo. But it started to hit me a little bit, and I think that happened when we saw some of her family recently. But like just how, because my buddy, like someone I've known my entire life, he's like, hey, do you and Rachel want to hang out with me and so? And I was like, for a second, I was like, oh, I haven't seen him in a while. That would be cool. But then I mentioned Rachel. She's like, no. I'm like, oh yeah, we're in quarantine. Yes. And I was like, hey, sorry. To be honest, we've seen no one except for her family lately, and that's probably not going to happen. And he completely understood. If there's anyone that was a person that was my same brain and another person, it would be him. So he completely understood. But it's definitely been getting to me a little bit, and so I'm trying to do things with people outside of the Megavisions crew that I stream and do things with like every day. So it's hard, but I mean, masks up and just be smart out there. But you got to look at the bright side somehow and catch up with movies while you can, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But moving away from, I guess, lockdown and all that horrible stuff. Being stuck at home, I've actually been watching quite a few movies, and this year I've been watching a bit more, I'm going to do this in inverted commas, horror movies. So I'm not hugely into the thing. There are some horror movies I do like The Thing, I like Alien, Ring as well, the original Japanese Ring I love. But I've been watching some movies on Netflix which are categorized as horror, but I wouldn't call them horror at all. One of them is called Annihilation, which is a couple of years old. It stars Natalie Portman.
I want to see that. No spoilers.
Okay. I won't say anything about it. Should I say the vague premise, or do you not want to know anything?
I mean, for myself, and maybe other people listening or watching, I thought it was straightforward sci-fi, and I learned a little bit about it. I kind of got spoiled on a little stuff, and I was like, oh, this is a horror film. Like,
right.
Did not, like, the trailers I saw did not give that impression at first.
Yeah. So I wouldn't class it as a proper horror movie, but there are definitely some bits which are a bit freaky. And some sort of bits that for some people might be like, oh my God, sort of thing. But I feel like it wasn't like a proper scary horror movie. But yeah. And another one I watched was called Freaks, which again is a couple of years old now, I think, which stars Emil Hirsch. And there's a few other actors in there I recognize, but have no idea what their names are. And that's kind of I guess like a superhero-y kind of thing. But it's clearly like an indie. They didn't have a big budget. It's clearly like an indie movie, but it's really well done. The best way for me to explain it is there are some people in the world who now have powers, and each successive generation, their powers get stronger, but some sort of cataclysmic event happened which killed loads of people. So now it's basically illegal to be what people call freaks, basically. And there was like an armistice, like they said, like, you guys can go and live over here, but anyone who else is living in our cities and living among us, you will be killed, basically. So it's kind of about this guy trying to protect his daughter because she might be growing up to be a freak. It's a certain period in their life, their powers unlocked. So he's trying to like look after his daughter and like keep her safe. And it's a really slow burn at the start. Like there's stuff happening and you're just like, what the fuck is going on and stuff. It's just a bit weird. But then suddenly like everything starts clicking into place and it was really good. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm not going to say it's like the most amazing movie ever, but I had a lot of fun with it in the end. But again, it's not really a horror movie. at all. There's like one moment that made me go, oh, because I just wasn't expecting it. But the rest of it, I was like, this is not horror at all. And then one other one was called Cargo, which is it's an Australian-made movie, but it stars Martin Freeman, who's from Sherlock Holmes. He was Frodo Baggins in the Hobbit movies. Do you know what I'm talking about? Scotty's
Wait,
looking up.
Frodo is sorry.
Oh no, Bilbo. Wait, is it Bilbo? Frodo's in Lord of the Rings.
Frodo is Elijah Wood.
Right, sorry. Bilbo Baggins then. I just got the two Baggins mixed up. Sorry. So yeah, Bilbo Baggins in the Hobbit movies. So the younger Bilbo Baggins, Martin Freeman. But it's not necessarily a zombie movie, but it's kind of a zombie movie. There's some sort of event, like a virus that's happened, which is kind of turning people into kind of sort of undead creatures, but they never say they're zombies or anything. And essentially it's about him trying to protect his daughter and save his daughter, and so like kind of stuck in the middle of nowhere in Australia. It was another slow moving movie, but I still had a lot of fun with it. So yeah. But yeah, other than that, I have a couple of pickups, both digital, so I can't actually show you. One of them is Resident Evil 8. I haven't played that at all yet, but I picked up Resident Evil 2 Remake because it's quite cheap on Xbox at the moment. And I played that for a little bit, and I am really enjoying it, but it's way less scary than I think the original Resident Evil 2 was. I feel like the camera angle in the old games made it scarier because you can't see around corners and stuff. So the new one, like I could sort of kind of anger myself to look around the corner with a torch and go, yep, I can see what are they called? Lickers. I can see a licker on the ceiling. That's not going to get me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. Good game.
So I think you maybe meant to say Resident Evil 7 because you said Resident Evil 8.
Oh, sorry, 7. I
was like, I haven't played that either. I don't think anyone has.
I apologize. It was Resident Evil 7. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and I'll say, I mean, that's why I like the originals better. And I know I'm in the minority digging those tank controls, but I prefer the static camera angles because, the less control you have over an environment and over your situation, the more survival horror it is. So that's why they're spookier, in my opinion. Yeah.
I still think Code Veronica on the Dreamcast is my favorite one. I love that because everything was in 3D and stuff, but you don't like it? Yeah. No? Or you do?
I go back and forth on it. I think I need to give it a better honest shot because I struggled to get through that game. I had a lot of game breaking things happen to me. There is a game breaking thing with the fire hydrant, I think, or whatever, and or not the fire hydrant. Yep, the fire hydrant that Claire sticks in her pocket. The fire extinguisher.
I didn't. Okay, I've never heard of that. I finished that game back when it first released and never had a single problem with it. But I liked it because all the environments were actually in 3D. Like on the Saturn and PlayStation originals, you could always see what things could be moved and what would, like all the puzzles and stuff. But this, it seemed like, because all the environments were 3D and all the graphics were kind of the same, it made it a bit more immersive, I found. So, yeah, and they were able to use some cool camera angles where the camera might move around one corner with you and stuff. So I just thought it was really good. But yeah, but I enjoy the modern Resident Evils. I just think they're not as scary.
Yeah. I want to give, this is a Graham specified pro tip for RE7. Because based on your views on Alien Isolation, the front of that game is the scariest part. So if you get beyond a certain part in Resident Evil 7, I think you could finish that game, Graham, because it does what any game dev would do: put some of the best stuff at the front to keep people interested. But then it's severe, in my opinion, anyway. Granted, I play a lot of spooky games. In my opinion, the scariest part is in like the first 3 hours of that game, and then once you get over a certain hump, you're plowing through, know how to avoid enemies and stuff like that and avoid the scares, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like I find that with most Resident Evil games, actually. Like, I was almost a bit more scared at the start. And then, so with Resident Evil 2, I was a bit surprised. I was like, I think I had a couple of jumps at one point, but other than that, I was like, one jump was when I fell through a floor because I just didn't expect it. I was like, ah! But there was nothing there to kill me, really. Well, there's a zombie in the room. I was like, oh, I can see a zombie. I'll shoot that in the head, basically. But otherwise, yeah, anyway. But that's me. That's me this week. So, yeah, a couple of pickups, lots of movies, lots of fun. Okay, and with that, we'll move on to Scotty Mo's Mail Sack of Wonder.
Yeah, it's the mail sack. We got the mail sack. Beautiful mail sack. Oh, nope, that's wrong. That's very wrong.
That's right, it's the mail sack. Let's see what's going on and dip right in. the reliable Mr. Haru coming through with some questions in the Discord. He asked, what are some content creators you watch that you think deserve more limelight? So that would be like maybe Twitch people, maybe YouTube channels, maybe, if people that don't, like, we're not talking like this guy on IGN needs more views on his IGN videos, like not something like that. So, God damn it. I don't know where my head is. I had one before we started recording and I completely forget it now. So does anybody else have one?
Yeah, I hear the Megavision show is pretty damn hot. People should check that stuff out. In all seriousness, though, Scotty, I genuinely think that you should with your Scotty Mo unboxing and stuff. I love that. I love them. I think.
Thanks.
Yeah, genuinely brilliant. So, yeah, but I have to.
I'll take it.
Yeah, cool. I have to admit, I don't actually watch as much as I used to, so I'm not sure who's popular or unpopular these days. To be honest, I don't really have the time between work and doing this and stuff, and yeah, so yeah, I'm actually not sure, but I love your stuff, dude, and yeah.
Thanks. It's impossible to make money off that in any way, shape, or form for me now because YouTube has ridiculous standards. I do not get over 10,000 views per video, and that's never going to happen. No,
make it happen.
Yeah, in all honesty, I do appreciate that, and it's a release and it's something fun. It's an alter ego, so it's for anybody that has no idea. I've been doing parody unboxings, did them a lot more when I worked at GameStop and lived with 3 other GameStop employees because it was a lot easier to just have games around me to open. But that is what I do, and I appreciate it. I'm actually going through my YouTube stuff and trying to find somebody that's not super popular that I could tell people to watch more of.
While you're doing that, Scotty, I would say, and this is, I'll try to keep it just focused to gaming because I watch lots of different stuff on YouTube. I watch like auto stuff, lots of sports, and so there's like different people in all of those things that I think do deserve more. But for those people listening to our podcast, I don't think they care too much about Dallas Cowboy talk. So I would say the one guy that he's been doing videos for years. And I think the hardcore people, the hardcore YouTubers know him, and I think he's got great respect. But just on a larger scale, I don't think people really know much of. But it's Spida1A. He does a series called Turbo Views on YouTube, where he looks at and reviews TurboGrafx 16 games.
Oh, cool.
And his goal is just to do every single Turbo release. And he's been at it for years, and he takes breaks every once in a while, like everybody, you have stuff that comes up in your life and stuff. So there's been times where he's taken a break for, I would say like a year, maybe between episodes. But here recently, and actually I watched a couple of his videos this morning. He has been getting them going a lot quicker, like he did, like 4 or 5 years ago. So it's really exciting. I don't know if he's getting like towards the end and he's just trying to like crank them out and just trying to get completed or what. But yeah, so his name's Spida1A, and Turbo Views is the show. I think you can go back. I mean, obviously it's all on YouTube, but if you want, you could go buy like Blu-rays and all that stuff. Like like most YouTubers, he has that. So he's a great one. Seems like a super nice guy. I think, yeah, Spida1A is a great one to get some more views.
Is that for clarity? Could you spell their name?
Yeah, it's I can't remember if that. So it's SP. You think it's an I for spy? It's SPIDA.
Gotta be edgy.
But yeah, it's Spida. It's not spider. And then the number 1A. Spida1A. Okay. I'll tell you what. Just go to YouTube and search Turbo Views, and it'll come up that way too.
Because there was already a fan of A1 sauce, and he took Spida A1. I assume. That's my joke for the week. See you guys.
That meant nothing to me. I have to admit, I didn't get that reference. But yeah, okay.
Damn it.
Oh, laughing
right,
long
I got one. I thought of one though. Yeah, shout outs to Stop Skeletons from Fighting, formerly known as Happy Video Game Nerd. I think that was before. But no, him and his partner, Producer Grace, he goes as Uncle Derek, and then Producer Grace They put out a lot of great stuff. I found out about him through a video about Deep Fear on the Saturn. And they go down holes of the weird stuff. Like, we're talking, one of the more recent videos was Secrets of the PlayStation 1 mouse. Like, he just did a video on the chainsaw controllers, all the ports of Resident Evil 4, some of the more interesting stuff like that. He has some videos based on accessories. He's done stuff with the fishing rod controller for Dreamcast. The video that got me into them was stuff around Deep Fear and just how crazy it is, and that it exists amongst other things. But yeah, I'm trying to find. But yeah, they do stuff. Their series called Punching Weight essentially celebrates the weird and unnecessary, the bizarre and unnecessary. So stuff like that. So stuff like ports of Doom that should not exist, like how someone made a Game Boy Color game on whatever else, and like different things. So stop skeletons from fighting. They're very cool.
When you said that, the chainsaw controller, I completely forgot that was even a thing. That was like one of the Resident Evil games, wasn't it, or something? Resident Evil 4,
wasn't it?
4? Yeah, it was with 4 on the GameCube.
Yeah, I forgot that even existed. Wow.
Yeah. And then you can also, I mean, this isn't taken away from his video entirely. I do recommend it, but you can also use that on anything that uses the GameCube controller peripheral for like Wii and Wii U and Switch. I seriously want one just so I can be the asshole who brings a chainsaw controller to the Smash Brothers tournaments.
Yes, I love it. That is stating your dominance right there. Yeah, boys, I'm here to play.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the GameCube one does not make noise, but the PlayStation 2 chainsaw controller, the start button is mapped to the pull cord. So to hit start, there is also a start button on it, but you literally go to like pause the game. So it's just absolutely absurd.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. Good question though.
Very good question.
And then he had another one here. Do you have any Sega games that is a go-to for lazy Sundays or days where it's pouring rain and you've nothing to do?
I'm gonna say yes, but I can't think off the top of my head now.
Oh, sure.
I'll go. Yeah. I'll Shining Force for me. That's a super chill game. I love the music. It's one of those games where you can instantly play and you feel like it's brought you back like home in a way, if that makes sense. That game is mine. And I don't even have to play for very long. I could just play it a few battles and get through some of the early portion of the game. And sometimes that's all I need. And I love it. I love going back to that game.
That's cool. I thought of something else for Stop Skeletons from Fighting, but we'll get back to it later if we have time. Anyway, rainy day Sonic game, probably, or rainy day Sega game. Jesus Christ, I don't know that it would actually be a Sonic game, but Bomberman is always good. Saturn Bomberman is something I can just chill, and if I make progress in, cool. If not, doesn't matter. But it's just doing a couple matches, and it's a good time. It's a chill thing. It's a chill thing, even though it's the most chaotic multiplayer game you'll ever play.
Yeah. I think for me, it used to be Burning Rangers on the Saturn. I used to love just picking it up, because even though that's one of those games you can sit down and keep playing for quite a few hours, like it's also, for me, it's a good pick up and play game, as is Nights into Dreams. That's another great one just to pick up and play. But I've been playing less and less Saturn over the years. And it'd probably be something like Speed Devils. I'm always picking that up, even though that's technically not a Sega game, but is a Dreamcast exclusive, or Toy Commander. So those would be ones Toy Commander's a game you could suck hours into, but I sometimes just like picking it up and just, even just flying around one of the rooms and stuff and just exploring and going, wow, look at this. So those are my ones. Those are my go-to games for that.
Yeah, Toy Commander, even if you're stuck on some levels, I will say that campaign can be super chill, aside from the ones that have like timers on them, which are just annoying. Oh, yeah. But
totally.
That's cool. Questions. Yeah, good questions. And I want to trail back to Stop Skeletons from Fighting real quick. The video that got me into them seriously was their breakdown of the Mighty Number 9 fiasco. And I learned of that. Brett of Megavisions actually directed me to it because of how eerily closely it mirrored the Shenmue 3 release. But it was very interesting. Their Mighty Number 9. Okay. It's over 20 minutes long, but it's a good video if you're ever curious. Of like it made sense on how Mighty Number 9 messed up so bad. But
wow, okay.
Yeah, it's interesting though. But yeah, both those are pretty good questions. So thank you for those, Mr. Haru. You know what? I'll double check Twitter, but I'm very confident there's nothing on there. Give me 5 seconds. 0 notifications, 0 fucks given. So that in mind, we're gonna hop right out of the questions because that's gonna do it for what is it called? The mail sack.
Beautiful.
And with that, we'll move on to our picks of the week. So, as always, we'll be choosing something that we think you people might enjoy. So, it could be a movie, a TV show, a book, a board game, something that we've been getting on with and we think other people might enjoy as well. So, with that said, Scott Zombie, what is your pick of the week?
Oh, I forgot. Yep. Dead I Am the One, exterminating sun, slipping through the trees and strangling the breeze. These lyrics are bad. I've never looked at the lyrics for this song. Anyway, the 90s, am I right? Or something, I don't even know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, since it's still Spooktober, been watching a lot of Giant Bomb series 6 Crazy Frights. Sorry. Which is something that their hosts Abby and Vinny do. Normally, Abby plays through spooky games while Vinny is in the booth messing with sound and stuff. But since it's COVID times now, they have been doing online co-op spooky games. Normally, it's Abby in either VR or something like. They started the whole series 3 years ago playing PT in VR, but have gone on and done some other stuff. Some not so great games, some pretty funny experiences, a lot of Abby just screaming her head off. But one that I want to recommend a specific episode. It is a bittersweet thing that Abby's leaving Giant Bomb, but it's a great series and still want to recommend it to everybody. The episode, actually, I'll get the number here as well. It's 402, where they play the game Pacify, which is a co-op horror game where you have to essentially expel some spirits from houses or different areas. It's not like Phasmophobia entirely.
Phasmophobia.
Yeah, it's not entirely like that because there's no checklist or anything like this. It's a first-person co-op horror thriller based game. But that episode of it, like, even if you just watch the first 15 minutes, it's hilarious because they go through some stuff. They test out games enough to make sure it's not like a dumpster fire, but they don't play too much that they're not surprised when they go into it. Right. So they got to a point which they did not experience before, and it was hilarious how, like, Vinny is a father of 2 kids, but his, like, dad mode kicked in to protect Abby from a certain situation that was hilarious, and it just ended up being, like, it's the first time, like, Rachel and I have, like, started to cry laughing at a certain part. I was going to say I don't want to hype it up too much, but I totally am. But it's so fun. I used to not be into watching people's reactions to games and, like, stuff like that, but getting more into streaming, a lot of these series are pretty hilarious and pretty entertaining. So, but the whole series is called 6 Crazy Frights, but specifically episode 402, where they watch Pacify. I'll, of course, link it in the podcast description and everything. Cool. It's hilarious. If you have kids around, they definitely drop some F-bombs, so maybe don't watch with them if that's a concern. But it's a good time, and I wish that we could do stuff like this, that we had the time and could get paid to just play through co-op games and enjoy the hilarity that ensues. So yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I'd totally be up for something like that. But yeah. Wow, okay. That sounds really fun. So
it's a good time.
I don't know if I should ask any questions about it because I actually almost don't want to know any more. I don't really want to know any more because I want to go in blind almost. But yeah, I don't know what to ask actually.
Okay.
Chris, have you got any questions about that?
I don't know who Abby is. Where is she going?
They recently got acquired by there was a merger with Giant Bomb. They used to be under CBS Interactive, and they're so essentially you have the option to continue your contract. She decided not to, and more power to her because this is her first job out of college, which also it's like, fuck you don't know how fortunate you are. But no, but she's been great. I've mentioned Giant Bomb before, and the reason it's bittersweet is like she was not my favorite personality on there at first because it felt like she was not a gamer, but she was strong on the production side. But then, like, as much as I watched Giant Bomb, Rachel would kind of sit there and sit through some stuff with me. But when Abby was on, she really liked Abby, and so Rachel's actually gotten interested into Giant Bomb due to Abby, and Abby's kind of warmed up to me as well. And then of course it figures because 2 weeks ago she announced she's leaving. But it's still like it's a fun like she was warmed up to her enough that like I said, babe, next time we go to like PAX, we're gonna go to PAX again sometime. We can meet Abby. She was excited about that, but who knows?
Maybe she's gonna. Did she say what she's gonna be doing? Is she staying in gaming? Is it like completely different? Maybe she'll keep streaming.
I think she's gonna keep streaming her own stuff on Twitch because she's already kind of started doing her own side thing, which is sort of what Dan Reichert has done. He left Giant Bomb just before the quarantine happened, and he's been streaming a lot more.
Who's left?
Him and Abby
I don't even know
together. So
I know Jeff Gersman. That's pretty much it of Giant Bomb.
Yes,
who I know.
he will.
Is he still
Jeff
there?
Gersman he's still there, of course, the founder of Giant Bomb. He's a lifer. Alex Navarro is still there. I think he'll be there forever. I think Vinny will be there forever. And also Brad Shoemaker. They're kind of the core staff on there now still because they were back with the GameSpot days and other stuff.
They were all the original guys, right? Because all those guys you said, I know their names. I don't know, like, other than the first guy, I don't know the other dudes. But it's cool that they're still doing it, though, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, they are. Like, I forget how Giant Bomb entered my ether, but when I learned that this might make me sound a little bit pretentious, but I don't give a shit. They kept making references to Mystery Science Theater, and so I was like, I think these are good people if they dig MST, so I'm going to keep listening to their podcast. and Jeff Gersman is honestly a fan of Sega, and he's like, they were one of the few groups out there that would talk about Sega in a higher regard than most people would in terms of console wars and things like that. So I think that's also why I kept up with them. But I mean, long story short, the whole reason that Giant Bomb exists is very interesting and admirable because it's literally a result of Jeff Gersman getting fired for a bad review on Kane and Lynch and then starting his own fucking company.
Oh, yes. And I remember that.
Oh, you've heard of him? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that whole event happening because wasn't the game studio who made Kane and Lynch, they were sponsoring the site or something, and he did a bad review. And it's like, you realise we've got all this advertising around your review about the game. You need to change it. Like, no, I'm not going to change it.
Really
it's
cool.
a terrible game.
It's really cool.
Wow. Okay,
it was just a matter of time before something like that happened. And it just so happened to be a very public site. IGN and everything else, or GameSpot, and because it was GameSpot, right? And they ended up. I don't remember the full story, but I just want to say I fully supported those guys when they went on to their own thing, and it makes me happy that there's still Giant Bomb, even though they got acquired. I'm sure they made their money and are doing well for themselves. Which, hey, if someone can sit there and I mean, these are like OG guys. These guys have been around for a long time. These aren't like YouTube or Twitch guys.
No.
These are dudes that have been writing and doing this stuff for a long time. So for those guys to catch out or even stay in, but just getting paid, I'm all for it because you don't get paid that much money, man. And so hopefully they did get a little chunk of that.
It's crazy. They've gone through a couple different ownership shifts and stuff, but it was announced recently, and they are, they have a good staff. They have a lot of strong people on there that are varied and come from different areas. But like the background is insane. Like how long a lot of them have been doing stuff. Like they have a thing on there now called Giant Bomb Infinite, which is after they hit their 10-year anniversary, they have a literal stream where you can choose what's next, but it just cycles through their whole video library of everything they've done. Really? And it was, I realized how long they've been doing this stuff when my buddy Lee linked to me a TV spot where Jeff Gersman was on a talk show hyping up the Dreamcast. And I was like, he looks like he's 19. And like, it's just crazy. So anyway, Giant Bomb is cool, and check out 6 Crazy Frights.
Brilliant. I think I'm going to do that later this evening. That sounds really good. I'll go next. So Yes, so I am going to do. I don't do this very often, but I am going to try and get everybody reading a book. I'm just bring up. Annoyingly, I don't have the physical version. I've got it in my Kindle. I'm just waking up my Kindle. Let's see if this works on the camera. It's a book called The Final Empire. Don't know if anyone's ever heard of that. So
Nope.
It's by an American author called Brandon Sanderson, which his name is really faint on here. I don't think anyone can actually read that on the camera, but Brandon Sanderson.
Nope.
I've only read one other of his books before, which was called Elantris. And he does sort of fantasy sci-fi books, but they're more fantasy based. And just after reading 2 of his books now, he's possibly my favourite author of all time. I think he's bloody brilliant. He's so the Final Empire is part of a trilogy of books called the Mistborn trilogy, and there's also some other books set in the Mistborn world, but this is the start of a specific trilogy. And the overview of the book is essentially there is a world where an immortal rules over the world, and he's called the Lord Ruler. He's basically a god. He controls pretty much everything. He controls all the politics and like the way the economic system and everything's set up. And the world is sort of split into 3 main classes beneath him. So there's his sort of ministry or his government, who are people with special powers, who kind of lay down the laws that he's dictated across the world. There's a class of noblemen who are basically these different great houses and smaller houses as well, who are basically rich people. So like the aristocracy from old England, sort of medieval times, they own land, they own sort of castles and keeps and stuff, and they beneath them, and some of them have powers as well. These noblemen have powers over this, like they're kind of like almost like a royal kind of bloodline. And people with that bloodline tend to have powers and abilities. And then you have these people called the Scar, who are servants or more often than not slaves. So some of them do get paid, but most of them don't. And they kind of work in fields and work in mines and things like that. And they're basically downtrodden, and some of them live in cities, some of them live on plantations and things like that. But essentially, it's all based around that sort of politics system and the special powers that certain people have, which come from different types of metal. So like things like steel and iron and stuff, people can actually eat bits of them, like digest them. And when they're inside their system, they can do what they call burning. So essentially they use that metal to be able to do certain abilities. But different people have different abilities, and only certain people can use certain types of metal. So
This guy was smoking some good shit.
Oh yeah. And each metal has a set ability. So for example, there's something called steel pushing. So if I eat a bit of steel and I'm a steel pusher, I can then push all metallic objects away from me. So I can pick up a coin and throw a coin, but I can make it fly really fast, really far. I can control it. But if I try to push like a tank, for example, which is way heavier than me, I would get pushed backwards because it's too heavy, if that makes sense. And there's different abilities like that, and they've all got like a
But
positive.
can you train yourself to get like stronger, or are you always at a limit? Like, is it just the mass? Like,
It's
is
the
it like
mass.
so there's
physical
no
way.
way a human will ever be able to do it, no matter how much training. You just physically can't like generate enough, like I guess, force.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to generate enough force or weight behind yourself effectively.
So there is some sort of laws that are like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I couldn't just like push a tank or something. I'd be screwed with that. And there's some people
that dashes my hope of the Rocky montage of someone eventually being able to push a tank with their mind.
That'd be amazing. On the flip side of that, you've got the like iron, people who can burn iron, they pull metal towards them. So I could pull myself towards the tank if I could do that. But if I like pull on like a door hinge or someone's earring, that would come towards me, if that makes sense. Because they would pull, the smaller objects would be pulled to me, but I could be pulled towards larger objects. So it depends on how heavy something is or how well firmly it's held down.
It's like if Magneto was not as strong as he is.
Yes, kind of. Yeah, you can imagine that. But there's more different skills and stuff, and some of them are really cool. But the main purpose of the story actually is around a couple of Scar rebels who both have these abilities to burn different metals. So it's kind of about this. They sort of become part of this rebellion, and there's an uprising against all the politics and stuff. But it's really it's a really good book. So Brandon Sanderson, the thing I love about him and why he's soon become my favorite author his language is quite simplistic, but it's very creative. So even though he doesn't like go into huge descriptions about things, you can instantly just view it in your head because the way he talks about stuff, and he's very creative. And it's within the first couple of pages, I was just hooked on this book. Same with Elantris, which is the other book I read of his. Elantris is a standalone book on its own. And after the end of Elantris, I was like, oh my God, I want more of this. Like, there needs to be more to this story. And then my friend told me, he's done loads of other books. Like, check out they said, check out the Mistborn trilogy. So it's been a few months, but I then eventually checked it out. I'm like, so glad I did. I've supposed to be doing it for the last like month, basically. Such good books. I've actually already downloaded the second book in the trilogy. Got to start reading that, but highly recommend him. He's really good.
So Graham, you are usually the one that like I think we convince to buy stuff. Most podcasts, it seems like most time there's not a podcast that finishes without Graham buying something that either me or Scotty or someone else convinced you to do. But I'll say this, Graham, you actually just convinced me to buy Mistborn on my Kindle reader. So I bought it and I'm going to start reading it.
Oh, is that the whole trilogy you've downloaded, or? I
just bought the first book.
Okay, the first book should be called The Final Empire.
It is.
Okay, good, cool.
It is.
Sorry, because I know he's got three. He's got 3 other books in the Mistborn world, so I didn't want you to accidentally download the wrong book. But I'm sure they're all amazing. So
yeah, I'm going to just download. I think I'm just going to buy the whole series anyway.
Sweet. So. Okay. My friend actually told me
The Final Empire is what it's called, right? Mistborn: The Final Empire.
Yes, that's right.
Yep.
My friend actually told me the first book in the Mistborn trilogy is the worst, but still amazing. So she was like, "They just get better," and I'm like, "OMG, yeah, that's happening." I can't believe you said OMG. I haven't said that like ever.
Book studio.
Oh yes, yep. So that's it. Yeah.
I was gonna like my only comment about that. It sounds cool. The metals. I mean, that sounds super reminiscent of the plasmids in the BioShock games.
How do they work? I remember using plasmids, but
yeah. I think they changed the name every freaking game or something. But in terms of like, they were literally these chemicals or things that you were ingesting or injecting into yourself to, as a human, you could then control fire. You could then move things psychically. You could only interact with certain things, but had some sort of X-Men type, mutant type powers like that. So it sounds similar to that. I don't know which came first. It's not like that's a brand new idea, but you know.
Yeah, I guess actually it's kind of very similar. Yeah, and once you run out of the metal in your body, you kind of can't do the power until you ingest some more metal, basically. That's the way it works in the Mistborn books.
That reminds me of a character.
Don't go around eating metal, kids.
Yeah, don't do that.
Just everyone at home, do not do this. It's a
your daily dose of iron is not by literally finding some golf clubs and chomping out a 5-iron. Don't do that.
Oh dear.
Good stuff.
So if there's no other questions on that, Chris von Frankenstein. What is your pick of the week?
I'm going to go back to Night of the Demons just because I want to talk about it a little bit more. Have you guys ever watched this or heard of it before?
Never even heard of it.
It sounds super generic, so I mean that's not to say I shouldn't check it out because of the generic name, but no is the short answer.
It is super generic. There's no reason why this particular night is of the demons. We've not figured out why this night in particular is that night, but no, it's like I guess I think it's on Halloween. It happens like on Halloween. There's a bunch of teenagers, like I said before. They go to it's actually an abandoned funeral parlor called the Hull House, and it's supposed to be built on this like evil patch of land where there's like this stream that goes underneath it. There's somehow like something happens to where on Halloween, and it has something to do with the stream that runs under the house. Like basically, demons can materialize. Like there's some portal that opens or something, and so these teens decide they're going to have this awesome party there. And they're not all friends; they're from like different groups and stuff. So it's like kind of like you got like all your stereotypical type of kids there. You got like your big jock guy. His name's Stooge, played by this guy. He looks like if like Rocksteady and Bebop were humans, that this is kind of probably what he'd look like, right? And all the characters like
Seamus.
Well, I'm talking about like the older ones, but
yeah, I know.
like each character, they're almost like done in like all their mannerisms, their outfits and stuff. It's just done up to almost a cartoony point. And they're just all played up like really crazy with their personalities and stuff. Linnea Quigley is in this movie. And she is one of the like biggest scream queens from like the 80s, probably. She's been in so much stuff. Return of the Living Dead, she was in, and she's been in just tons of stuff. Usually she's not very shy with removing garments, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
Oh,
So I
okay.
know who that is now. I know who that is now.
Yeah. So you chances are you've probably seen Linnea Quigley, even though you don't know her name.
Chances are you've seen a lot of Linnea Quigley.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I have
Especially in
no
this
idea who
movie,
this
too.
person is.
So this movie was originally released back in 1988. And it was directed by Kevin Tenney. It had a budget about $1.2 million, and it went on to gross a little over $3 million. So it was a somewhat of a commercial success. It didn't make a ton of money, but it did open, nationwide. This movie, I always wanted to watch it growing up because, like I said, I'd see it at the VHS store, and my mother would never let me rent it. I still remember the box art, like to this day. And we happened to do a podcast about it recently, and I ended up getting it. Now, Jamie, my wife, she loves watching scary movies with me, but the one thing she's not really into is like older horror movies, like especially stuff from like the 80s and 70s. She's not really into some of the older stuff, like some black
The
and white.
golden
horror.
age. What the heck?
Here's the reason why. She prefers movies that feel more realistic.
Okay.
So movies like Sinister or The Conjuring, something that where she feels like it's somewhat grounded in reality and it's taken serious as it is actually happening, not like slapstick horror. She doesn't like gore horror. She's not a big so there's very specific kind of stuff that I know if I'm going to have Jamie watch, like I know she will either like this or it's probably not for her. And I knew going into this is Night of the Demons was not her movie. I was like, I know what she's into. She's not, but my brother and I started watching it last week to get ready for the show, and she ended up just didn't have anything to do, so she sat and watched it with us. She ended up loving the movie,
Oh, okay.
which I was so surprised about. And I had to say, this movie, it's just so much fun to watch. It doesn't do anything crazy different. It's just like the gags are good. It's funny. It seems like all the characters just really had a lot of fun with it. And it's a really cool movie. I really suggest you guys to check it out if you've not done it. This is probably one of the movies, if I probably put like maybe 5 to 10 horror movies that I haven't watched, but I really need to. This is definitely one of the ones that was like on top of my list because I know how respected it is, and I know a lot of people really love it. And it's just one of those that for whatever reason I just never got to watching it when I was a kid. One little cool little tidbit is apparently it was actually referenced. The movie was referenced in an episode of Deadwood. I guess there's in the convenience store, there's the VHS of the movie like sitting on one of the shelves in Deadwood, which takes place like in the late 1800s or whatever. So,
Wow. Okay.
VHS would have been really new back then.
Yeah.
So I have no idea who Linnea Quigley is, because I'm not hugely into horror movies like you guys are. I do enjoy some of them, but yeah, but I've just gone to her IMDb page. She has done so many movies, and they all appear to be horror themed movies. And I don't know if you know, she's still making them. She's got movies in pre-production, some going out in 2022 due for release, and then it's like 3 others afterwards. And three like a couple that just jumped out at me. Sorority Babes in the Slime Bowl O-Rama 2 and Terratoons 4. What? I've seen Terratoons, the original one. I didn't realize there was like sequels. Wow. Okay.
It's basically like if you've played a Duke Nukem game and you saw like Beach Babes in Brooklyn blowing up bombs or something, like some made up poster. She was in the movie that poster's making fun of.
Wow. I'm gonna have to watch some of this stuff.
She's great because she knows she's in schlocky stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's not
Yeah.
a dumb person, but she, she just embraces it, man. She's made a name for herself. The people in the community love her. She seems like a sweetheart of a person. I've never met her or anything like that, but just in the interviews, the behind the scenes stuff I've seen of her, she just looks like someone who is probably awesome to have on set and just a really fun person to be around. So,
and she's made a career. She's clearly made a career out of it. She's been working since 1975 doing these movies. There's tons of movies in her list. It's amazing. So
I will tell you what, Graham. Check this movie out. I'm going to read that book that you suggested. You read Night of the Demon, or watch Night of the Demon, I should say, and I'll read that book.
Demons. I'm going to type it in. Night of the
I wonder, like, based on your description of the plot there, is there, aside from the horrible, I'm sorry, some people do dig the scary movies that are called Scary Movie. Is there a movie that makes fun of the fact that all the bullshit's happening on Halloween night? And I wonder if there's ever like a scene where like groups of teens are running into each other, like asking for help. And meanwhile, one of them's like, no, we got our own issue to deal with to prevent a different wormhole portal to hell. Sorry, gotta go.
The only thing that I remember, like, kind of similar, and it's not really, but Shaun of the Dead, there's that one funny scene where they go by the same group of people and they're just like doing the same thing. I thought that was great. That's just so funny that it calls into point exactly what you're saying though, Scotty. Like, yes, there is an apocalypse happening around you, but in this story we're only like following around these one group of people, but mind you, there's all of this other crazy stuff happening around you. It's just
it's actually it doesn't really address it, but it kind of goes with that theme. If you guys have ever seen the movie Trick or Treat, it sort of takes that idea, but not to a hilarity standpoint. We just recently watched that. It's cool as a new monster, sort of in that monster universe type thing. Trick or Treat kind of has that idea.
I think this
sounds
is something
fun.
you guys would like, Scotty. I know, your girlfriend, you guys watch horror stuff. I think this is definitely something right up your alley. I think you guys are going to like it. I'm more interested to see what Graham, because I don't know if like how much you are into this type of stuff, Graham. I would be interested in seeing like whether you like it or not.
Okay, I'm interested to find out myself as well, to be honest, because there's certain horror genres and movies I do enjoy. I have to admit I haven't seen many of the big ones. Like, I've seen Halloween, as in the new Halloween, and I've seen Halloween H2O, but those are the only Halloween movies I've seen. So, for example,
it's
for
horror
movies, so like for these schlocky horror movies, I've seen I've forgotten the name of it. The Terratoons. I've seen the original Terratoons. I've seen a couple of other movies a bit like that. But I'm interested. I'll give this a shot for sure.
It's a hard genre as much as like sci-fi is to keep up with, because there's so many subgenres to know what you're like. Because there's some horror movies that I will like not bother with, because it's just like I don't need torture porn, but I like other stuff. So it's
like
I
love the original Saw movie because I thought it was quite psychological, and I think I enjoyed the second Saw movie, and then I think it's either the third or fourth Saw movie. There's a bit at the start where someone's got to get a key out of some acid to unlock this thing that's strapped to them, and when they finally do, they can't unlock it because the key's melted down too much, and then it just rips them apart. And I was like, somebody had to think this up, and I was like, this is a bit too far for me. I was just like, I'm not enjoying this right now. This is not my kind of horror. I don't know.
I don't enjoy like torture stuff, and like I wasn't a fan of the Hostel stuff. I like, not
at all.
I like lots of different genres, but that's not one that I'm big on personally. Like I like that stuff in certain instances, like gore in horror is fine when done right. But I prefer like build up the suspense and and that sort of thing, traditional type stuff.
Yeah,
but,
I'm the same. I don't mind a little bit of gore or even just a tiny bit of torture, as it were, in a movie. But I'm not like into ones that are like full on gore, full on torture throughout the whole movie. I'm like, kind of, this isn't my thing really.
I'm always also a fan of. I was just going to say that like the last like aspect of horror and stuff is sometimes I like it better when they don't show stuff and they really let the audience's imagination go crazy. Like that's what like Alfred Hitchcock was known for that stuff in some of his movies,
Even
because of budget, but like that actually makes it sometimes scarier because it just lets you decide what's going on.
well, the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, if you go back and watch it, there's really not any kills that happen on
Not
screen.
much gore.
It's all off-screen stuff. And so there's really nothing that you see like, and that was all because they're trying to get through like censors and stuff, and they were trying to get a certain rating.
I can vaguely remember there's at least one pretty bad murder when doesn't want some. Just not really spoiling because it's like a 40-year-old movie. But some guy, when they're going into the house, he opens the kitchen and then, like, I think Leatherface then he just smashes his head in with a hammer straight away.
Well, a lot of the times it actually doesn't show it. The violence. It cuts away.
Yeah.
It cuts away.
It'll split right before the contact of it.
There's
I'd have to watch it again.
Grabbing a girl and like my son's in here.
Putting on the
other
spike.
scenes of violence. Yes,
I know that
scene. You see it in your mind, but if you actually go back and watch it, it does not actually show the spike going in or anything else. It shows him about to do it. It cuts away, and I think maybe a shadow, and then you see her body there, but you don't actually see it. So that was like their way of getting around, anything beyond like an R rating or anything like that. It's just putting that part out, and they're able to get through some censor stuff.
Yeah, which I think, in some ways that works better. And I like.
But to your point, Scotty, I think that stuff. Yeah, I agree. Like when you do that, you leave it a little open to the imagination, and sometimes that's way scarier.
Yeah, like with the original Jaws. I found that terrifying as a child. But I watched a documentary about it, and they couldn't get the shark to work properly. So for the first half of the movie, you never see it. You just see the fin occasionally, but you never see the proper actual mechanical shark. And they said it worked out way better. They're like, it's just so much more terrifying. They've got that music there. This kind of builds up the suspense, and then like people get dragged under and stuff. You're like, what? It's under the water. Holy crap. Oh my God. Something massive must be there. So it's kind of really draws you in. And I love that sort of stuff. Wow. Yeah, that's exciting. I love it. Does anyone have any other questions for Chris? Scotty, do you have any more questions about Night of the Demons at all?
No, I'm still digging through the ditches and burning through the witches.
There is some weird stuff that happens in this movie, though. I'm not going to say it. There's just random weird stuff that happens, and it's never explained. The best thing to do is just don't even question it. Just accept that it happened and just keep going. I guarantee you, it'll make it way easier for you. Just go on with your life. Just that one bit there. That's just one piece of advice.
Okay, well, I will try and watch it the next week, and I will try and get back to you and let you know how it went, and if those bits annoyed me. But with that, we will put our picks of the week to bed, and we'll quickly move on to our feature discussion. And that will move us on to our feature discussion of the week, which this week we're mixing up as always, and we're going to be talking about scary moments in non-scary games. So essentially some moments in games that we found truly terrifying that actually made us like scream and or cry, or I don't know, hide behind the pillow, run behind the sofa, hide in the fridge. Those sort of moments that we found in completely non-scary games. So let's find out how big of a chicken we all are, and I will kick this off. So the game I'm going to talk about is The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. So there was a moment in that game which I genuinely got terrified at, to the point I screamed out loud and threw my controller at the console. So I need to explain how that happened, though, because as hopefully everyone knows, Zelda games are not really scary at all. And I would say the Ocarina of Time is not a scary horror game in any way, shape or form, especially based on the visuals of it. But so essentially this happened quite early on in the game, maybe an hour or so into the game, because if you're not aware, if you haven't really played the game, you start the game, you're in like an area called Kokiri Forest. You can't really get out of that area until you do your first dungeon. And so the first dungeon is the Great Deku Tree. You have to go in and save the Deku Tree after collecting like a sword and shield. And then at that point, you then get to leave Kokiri Forest. And Kokiri Forest is quite a little villagey area. And one of the most exciting things that I wanted to do in the Ocarina of Time was go out into the world, because it's like one of those the first really big open 3D worlds and environments, and I was getting really excited for it. And so I left the forest, and then like you walk out like this little corridor bit, and suddenly you have to speak to an owl, and the owl's really annoying. It's like, do you need to do this? It's like, for God's sake, shut up! I just want to play the game. And then at that point, the owl flies off, and you get to step into Hyrule Field for the first time, and like the music comes up and stuff, and I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. I sort of took a few steps out of like the little entranceway and just stood there and just like looked around, and I could see the sun in the sky, and the music was up and like sort of, you know, playing in the background, and I sort of went into first person view and started looking around, just standing on the spot looking around. I started watching the sun in the sky, just going across, and then like the sun started to set. I was like, it's amazing. Like I've never seen that in a game before. That people these days like that why is that a big deal? Back then that had never happened in a game as far as I'm aware. And then like the sun went down, and the night sort of started to rise, and like the moon started coming up in the sky. I was like, oh, the moon! Look at the moon! Oh, and all the ambient noise went down. You could hear sort of wolves howling in the distance and stuff, and like little chirping of birds and things. Like, wow! And then suddenly I heard this like weird noise. I was like, what is that noise? Still in third person view, looking around, and then I looked down, and just looking directly down, this skeleton's head just came out at me like that. And I was just like, it's like through the controller. I was like, Jesus Christ. I had no idea that was going to happen. And yeah, it was just like one of the Skull Tulus just came out of the ground or whatever. And I was just like, it was right in my face. I was like, Jesus Christ, like genuine scared. Like, oh, it's going to get me. So yeah, that was truly terrifying.
That happen when like you stand around for too long, you're idle for too long or something? It's just to get you moving, I think.
It's whatever it comes to Nightfall in Ocarina of Time.
Right.
They'll just come out of the ground, so they'll just come out. If you start running along, even they'll start coming out of the ground near you. But I just happen to be standing there going, "Wow, look at the moon! It's in the sky!" Like, like. But it's just the way I looked down. It literally was right below my feet, just going up, and it was like, wow. So yeah, that was one of the most terrifying moments I've ever had in the game. I mean, that's put Alien Isolation to shame, I'd say. But so, guys, are you as big as Wimpy as I am? Chris, have you had truly scary moments in non-scary games?
This was a tough question.
I actually had a comment about your moment there.
Okay, fair enough. Okay,
because I do remember that stuff. I was hooked on Ocarina of Time. It sucked me in way more than Mario 64 and other stuff. But and I do remember that big, like, breathtaking moment of how big the field is and everything. But there was a part in that game that did freak me out, and it's when those very slow-paced zombies are approaching you, and if they grab you, the horrible shrieking noise that they make.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it spooked me at first, but not to the level that you had there. But it was so unbearable to the point that I would like go out of my way to avoid those enemies, because it was just like when they grab you, it's like this horrible death scream.
Yeah, that's kind of chilling actually, that moment.
And they do look, and they're like this emotionless, just empty face as well on their whatever it is. They're like zombies or something.
Maybe Ocarina of Time is a horror game. Oh my god! Wow, what a twist!
There's other spooky parts in that game for sure. So,
brilliant. Sorry, so Chris, what is your pick?
Yeah, so like I was saying, it took me a while to sit there and think about it, and I was like, man, because most of the time I get scared in a video game, it's because the game's supposed to scare me. It's a horror game, so this is a tough one. But I will say, I started thinking back, and I found the game, and I have to say it's Minecraft. It's the game that I was playing with my kids. I remember because they got really into it, and I would hear that it was like this, what it was about and stuff, and I never really played it, and finally one day they got me to play it. This was years ago, and I gotta say, as we started like building our house, they were kind of teaching me how to play and stuff, and I was having a lot of fun with it, like going and making a little grass and building a little wall and stuff, and I was doing all that, and then it started getting night. And then all of a sudden we started building, and I turn around and there's like spiders and zombie creepers coming around, and it freaked me out. I'm like, what is this? I was not expecting that. And they were all coming and like attacking our house and stuff. It was crazy. I can't say I got legitimately scared about it, but it did surprise me. And I thought it was a really cool twist. I wasn't expecting it. So I got a little shook from Minecraft.
Yeah,
it's a sharp contrast to how that game plays overall too, with the like light piano in the background and whatever as you're just kind of chopping away at your fence or whatever.
Yeah, I've seen videos of people like, and I thought actually that could be quite scary. Like someone's building a house and they turn around and like,
yep, that would scare me. I can't play that game.
Yeah, that's too scary. I have played Minecraft, but I kind of knew those things existed. So yeah, I've seen people like digging into caves and stuff, and they're finding creepers down there and stuff. But yeah, I can imagine the first time you play that, if you just didn't know that was a thing, that would be quite, oh my god, what the hell? What's going on here?
Mm-hmm. It was a cool experience, and
yeah,
I played it for like 2 more days, and I was like, this game's awesome. And then I was like, what's the point of this game? I'm done. And then I've never really played it since much.
Wow.
So.
About right.
And Scott, Odin's giving a thumbs down.
Odin's opinion is no, Minecraft is 10 out of 10. Dad is wrong. Your turn, Scotty.
Yep. Oh, for sure. I'm surprised he didn't give me one of those like old like show tunes, like little cane that pull.
Yeah.
Off screen. He takes over from here.
So Scott Zombie, have you got a game that's not scary that scared you?
I had to think about this one as well. I struggled a little bit, mainly because I play a lot of creepier stuff. But it was another fun reminder that this wall of games behind me does serve a purpose, and it made me feel worthwhile that it's taking up so much space, because I just stared at it for a second. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what creepy game? And I'm like, it can't be Alien Trilogy. It can't be whatever else. But then I found it going down to the more retro section. The first Jurassic Park game on Sega Genesis.
Oh, okay.
So the opening scene of it does... well, before I get into the scary part, I'll say one of the best things that I do miss about old games is how they would incorporate different logos into it and everything. With this one on the Genesis, the T-Rex would come up and say Sega. It would be like, Sega, if you guys remember that at all.
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, the game opens with showing you like, oh, in case you haven't seen one of the most popular movies in existence, there's the T-Rex that comes in, like shifts into the screen of the stranded Jeep under the thunderstorm and everything, and like you see just the T-Rex's face and just blackness behind it, and then you start the game as Dr. Grant with no face and that big hat you remember. But that the game itself starts out a little creepy because it is very dark and you can't see a whole lot. And when you do actually encounter dinosaurs, you don't kill them; you just tranquilize them or put them to sleep or whatever. But the part that did get me is when you encounter the T-Rex for the first time in the game, I should say, like during gameplay, because you're in more of a lab type area and you have to, and you kind of. You're aware of the noises dinosaurs make and stuff like that. But then you get to a part where the T-Rex literally bursts through the wall and it's just his head in the background.
Oh.
The first time that happens, I was like, what are you doing? And I remember backtracking and thinking like, I'm going to outsmart this game. Maybe if I back up and like creep onto the screen, he won't show up yet, or I'll be able to bypass him or whatever. Because you can't, it's a one-hit kill. Because if the T-Rex snags you, you're a snack. That's it. You're done. So I remember it was the first time in video games that I was so scared that I didn't want to progress. Like I didn't want to go on to this area because I knew I was going to die. And it's scary because you can like see, and it's funny because you can like creep into that frame of it. And you just see him like looking around, like waiting for you to chomp, just waiting for you to try to get by because you're a dumb old human and you're going to be his hors d'oeuvre. But I remember that was the first time that I was like legit scared. Like a game like actually made me jump. And I did not want to continue because I was so scared of dying in the game. So it was a combination of actual fear, but also like, how the hell do I get past this part?
Wow, I love it. Yeah.
So.
That's I forget actually. The Genesis version of Jurassic Park, is that the one that's side-scrolling, like a side-scrolling platform, or is it the top-down view one?
Yeah. How could you get them confused? It's not like there was a Jurassic Park on literally every console when it came out. No, because the one on Super Nintendo was a top-down view.
Yes.
And it was like almost a Zombies Ate My Neighbors kind of thing where you could shoot in any direction and you had to collect dinosaur eggs, I think, or something weird. But it was 2-player.
I remember playing with friends, but...
Yeah, the Genesis one was a side scroller where you could play as Dr. Grant or as a Velociraptor. Needless to say, I've never beaten it as Grant because why would I play the game as him when I could be a freaking Velociraptor? So, and there was also the Rampage edition, which I don't really remember the differences other than maybe it was more difficult.
Do I have that? I think I've got.
Yeah, because there was the original Jurassic Park and the Rampage edition. I feel like maybe it had a different boss or something. I don't know if it was a fully different game, but I was all about Jurassic Park as a kid. But that was, what scared me. And I don't know if it was meant to be a jump scare per se. Graham is still looking for his something. He's grabbing like 5 cases off the wall now.
So
he's excited.
I don't think I've even played the Mega Drive versions, but I have Jurassic Park Rampage Edition, and Jurassic Park The Lost World all on the Mega Drive. So I think these are quite recent pickups in the last year, so I haven't actually played them.
Well, what's it say on the back of Rampage then?
Rampage Edition is faster, tougher, and more dangerous than ever. Take up arms as Dr. Grant to blast through all new action-packed levels, or be a razor-clawed raptor as you dodge the slashing jaws of the mighty T-Rex. Man or beast, the goal is the same. Escape the island alive before it blows. In fact, I don't know if it's just the quality of the images, but the back of the Rampage Edition, which is this one, looks a lot better than the back of the original one. Like, it's just the better colours and it seems a bit clearer. So maybe I'll play these. Maybe I should stream these because I clearly haven't actually.
This ain't your grandpa's Jurassic Park or whatever the.
Yeah, I mean, just the visuals of the raptor look way better in Rampage Edition. It looks like
it might have been that. It might have been like, how there was Street Fighter Arcade and whatever Street Fighter Turbo. It might have just been a better up to the ante with the original Jurassic Park.
Lost World looks like a mix of games. It's kind of got like a top-down view thing, but it's got like almost like a first-person driving section at the top there. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh no, that has.
And then another bit at the bottom where you appear to be on like a raft with a giant alligator crocodile thing next to you.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah, so I'm not sure.
I have only played the Lost World game on Saturn and PS1, so I don't know that I even knew it was on Genesis. Maybe.
Yeah. And Lost World is 1 or 2 players, so I might check that out. This seems fun. Cool. Let's play some of these. Cool. But yeah, so it seems to me like you guys aren't as scared of games as I am, from what you guys have said, essentially. Whereas I seem to be a massive chicken because I can count many games where I've had like jump scares. Like I could come up with like 5 or 6 easily off the top of my head. But one I really wanted to mention because you sort of
keep going. Maybe this is therapeutic.
this could get me over my fear. I can actually play games again because the thing is, you mentioned about Jurassic Park there being like one of the first legitimate jump scares you've ever had in a game. Up until like for years, I was not scared of games at all. Like genuinely wasn't scared until I played the original Tomb Raider on the PC. And Saturn, it's on the Saturn obviously as well, and PlayStation. But so I wouldn't consider Tomb Raider games to be horror games as such. And definitely the way they start off aren't that scary. But I just remember there's a couple of bits. So the first part is I was playing the game like on my own and with a friend, and we were doing pretty well. We got through most of the game quite easily, quite happily without getting scared. But I went round to a friend's house who just picked up the game. And he was like, oh, yeah, I just picked up Tomb Raider. I'm like, yeah, cool, let's play it. And there's me, him, and some other guy. And we're kind of taking in turns and stuff. And I think I played through most of the first level. And then, like, the second level came up. It was either I think it's the second level. And I was sort of just, like, chilling out, sort of, like, leaning against his desk, kind of just like, yeah. And he was, like, walking around, being a bit slow. And there's this area where there's, like, a little bit of water. And then it's like this it kind of looks like an old barn, but it's like all inside this tomb thing. And I was like, oh yeah, be careful, because I think there's a bear around here. But I was like kind of like questioning myself. I was sort of like kind of half lying down. I was like, yeah, there's a bear. And then like, they're like, bear. And then like, they sort of like, we sort of made ourselves kind of panicky. And then he was just like, well, where is it? He was looking around, he couldn't see it. Then he turned around and literally the bear was right behind me going, "Arr!" And we were just sort of like, "Ah!" So all 3 of us just like screamed basically. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And another part in the game which genuinely made me scared for most video games with water in them is later in the game, it genuinely terrified me when essentially for the first few levels of the game, you can go in water. That's the one way to get away from most enemies. You can jump in water because they don't follow you in there. And then there's one of the later levels that maybe halfway through, you're sliding down like this slopey thing, and I think you get an opportunity to jump at some point to get onto another ledge. But if you fail that, you fall into some water. And as we were falling in the water, I sort of turned to my friend and went, I swear to God, I just saw something moving in that water. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, something was moving in the water. And then he's like swimming along. And as he was swimming along, you just see this crocodile just come up behind him and just like grab Lara. And we're all just like, and from that moment in the game, we couldn't trust water anymore because crocodiles could be in the water, basically. And every time we came out to a bit of water, we're like, nope. Because in the first Tomb Raider, you don't have any underwater weapons. So it's just like, you're screwed. You have to really swim past everything. And it's kind of terrifying because there's quite a few crocodiles later in that game. And that from then on, I've always had a fear of water in games. Like, before that, didn't have a problem. Not a problem at all. And so Tomb Raider is one of the games that actually got me scared of games, basically. Even though it's not a horror game.
Taken a bath since.
Exactly, yep. I only shower to me, my friend, and that's just with a bucket of water, because I know what's in there.
Yeah, I don't remember that in that. Maybe I didn't get that far, or maybe it's different in the Saturn version. I don't remember crocodiles ever, but I thought you were talking about a different spot, avoiding the water, though.
Oh no, there's tons of crocodiles. I finished on the Saturn. There's definitely crocodiles in it.
I might have just not have gotten as far.
Okay.
The only part I remember a lot of underwater portions is that area where you have to progress and drain the water in some parts. And yeah, I don't remember crocodiles at all, actually. I thought you were leaning into the T-Rex portion of that as well or something.
Oh, see, that didn't scare us.
No, you kind of saw it coming. Yeah, you kind of saw it coming.
Like, I think when it happened, we were like, oh my God, what is that? But we weren't like proper scared. We're like, whoa, there's a freaking T-Rex in this game. And like velociraptors and stuff. Like, but
in the level that is actually called The Lost World as well.
Indeed, yeah. But yeah, we were more like, oh, this is awesome. And for most of that game, I was like, this is awesome. But there's a few moments I was like, holy shit, like just genuinely scared. So yeah, and I've got other games I could mention. So maybe next year I'll bust out some more and get you guys to play less scary games that scare you. In the meantime, I don't know. But yeah, so there we go. And is there any other comments on that at all, Chris? Do you think I'm a massive chicken or?
I always thought you were massive chicken, so it hasn't changed.
I've just cemented that fact for you.
Absolutely,
brilliant. Okay,
absolutely.
Okay. But for any of the audience out there, any of the listeners, watchers, let us know if you've played some non-scary games that actually terrified you, possibly to the point of like crying or throwing your controller down, because that certainly happened with me more than once. And yeah, with that, I guess that kind of brings us to the end of that segment and the end of the show. So before we go, have we got any announcements, chaps? So Chris, have you got any announcements for any of the side stuff that you're doing at the moment?
Nothing, but I'm hoping the next time I come on, I'm not exactly sure when I'll be on the next show, but I'm hoping by then I'll have some updates on the Mega Barn. We'll definitely have an update on the next issue of the magazine. I need to talk with Sketch and see where we're at with that. So just so people know, basically things are kind of slow going right now with the next issue. Sketch is basically dedicating every Sunday that he has to work on the magazine. He's taken, there's several days a week that he's doing like game dev stuff, for some of the side projects, and then his normal sketchcraft stuff too. So for right now, because of his game project that he's currently contracted for, that's kind of taken up some of the time that he normally would have, for design layout for the magazine. So I'm super excited for him, because this is like Sketch's dream to finally be able to work on games and stuff. Because obviously, you guys know Crash 4 just released. He did a lot of art, concept art, and a lot of stuff on that. So super excited for him. But yeah, so this issue is coming along. It's coming along slowly, but it's coming along well. We're on the Cyberpunk timeline right now, so we're gonna say it's coming out on time. You can book it. So
nice. And people have been asking about the Mega Barn. So any updates you can give them that late, like when you come back? Well, I think
Oh, yeah.
people will be appreciative.
This week,
Yeah.
actually, I'm hoping this week will be a very important week for the Mega Barn.
Ooh.
And next time I come on, I'm hoping to have some exciting news for that.
Oh, amazing. Fantastic. And Scotty, have we got any site announcements at all? Or he's
We
nodding
sure
his
do.
head. Very excited.
Aside from the usual streaming schedule, Extra Life Day is coming up. So we do the marathon outside of. There is an Extra Life Day dedicated in November of every year where everybody streams, everybody raises money for the kids and everything. We do the marathon outside of that to celebrate the Dreamcast, but also it's a little easier for us to raise money when we're not competing against giant sites and things like that. But all that in mind, we do, of course, still want to stream and represent ourselves on Extra Life Day, which is November 7th. This year, I made the decision that myself, I didn't convince them, I didn't bribe them, but 3 insane people are joining me. That's Corey, a.k.a. Tornado Jones, Anti-Chris, and Kusanagi. We are going to play through a full maxed out Precious Stone game of Sonic Shuffle on Extra Life Day, starting at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because we hate ourselves, but it's for the
You guys
kids.
are insane. You guys are insane.
So
I love the idea. As someone who I don't hate Sonic Shuffle as much as probably 98% of people out there do. So I love this. I'm super excited. I'm definitely going to be tuning in for this because I can't wait to see how, because I play it and I find some enjoyment out of it. Because I know that some of these guys are going to hate it. I can't wait to see how bad they hate these games.
I couldn't find a definite answer anywhere on how long this should take. So we might be done in 2 hours. We might be done in 7 hours. I really don't know because there's like one gameplay video of this game, a full playthrough, and it's like 6.5 hours long. But
well, I'm glad we're going to have another one on there. At least we'll have
Jesus,
that on the internet. Like this, we finally answered this age-old question that everyone's been asking about Sonic Shuffle.
Yeah. So it's I guess for those that have no idea what Sonic Shuffle is, it's essentially a Mario Party ripoff, and instead of collecting stars, you get these things called Precious Stones. During the marathon, we've always had it as a goal, raise $666. We stop everything, play Sonic Shuffle, and we normally maybe get 1 Precious Stone in the hour that we play it, and so we've never gone beyond that. So we're going to try, I think you can set it to a max of either 6 or 7, and we're going to see how that works.
Man, I vaguely remember the first marathon that I was on, so that was a couple of years ago. We played for like the hour and we didn't get a Precious Stone. Like we ended up giving up. We're just like, it's the hour's over. We're like, oh, thank God. Let's move on. Oh, wow. So
it should be fun.
That's exciting.
It'll be fun regardless, and maybe we'll crack the $1,500 mark because we've raised almost that much for the year. So
perfect. Yeah, that'd be amazing. So if anyone wants to tune in to people torturing themselves with Sonic Shuffle and the hilariousness around that, then also give some money to charity and help out a charity. Even just watch it, even if you can't, money's tight for some people at the moment. Just hop on and watch it, and any support you can give us, just saying hi or whatever. Amazing. Thank you so much. And with that, then I guess that wraps up the show. So thanks everybody for watching, for listening, for sending in any comments and feedback. I know we were light on comments and feedback this week, but people have been sending stuff in, so thank you very much. And with that, catch you all later and be excellent to each other.
Bye. See ya. He's a ghost.